Our intros are so horrible. I love it. We just wait it out and then say something at the exact same time.
Yeah. No, you go. It's like people at a four-way stop. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If only. If only people were that nice instead of being idiots. Oh, man. I could just go off on a tangent already. But instead, I'll say this is Inane Blather, episode 96. Your favorite podcast, though it may not be the best one.
There is no question about that.
That's not the question. We're here for the tough questions.
How do I possibly figure out this impossible riddle? Thank you, life, you asshole.
That's what we're here for with our Lord and Savior R.M. Brown on the soundboard.
It's pretty important to know that part.
Yes.
Nice.
That he's not really here. But we're here to answer life's asshole-ish riddles for our cult-like following of...
headstrong, stubborn, quibbling, self-centered, vindictive, obnoxious, hormonal, sexually preoccupied, evil, thieving, cross-dressing jerks.
All of you lovely babes.
Yes. And, update our Father... who art on Earth
Thank goodness.
Doing much better.
Yeah.
We were just talking about him before the show, but I figured that I could at least say for the listeners, he made a good old centrist joke about his, how he has to deal post hemorrhagic stroke that he had. Where he has to choose between a leaky brain or a clotted one.
Yeah.
It's either a leak or a clog, and it's kind of like our election. Am I right, folks?
Nice.
What the fuck?
Oh, man. Hasn't lost a step.
It's very cringe when you do that.
Oh, my God. Some of these are so loud.
I need to see a dick.
That one's too
It
quiet.
should be louder.
Yeah.
Okay, Natalie.
There was there was something else. Speaking of Hassan, he had a really great point the other day.
We should just start killing women.
That's all I remember him saying.
We should just start killing women.
It really resonated with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I brought it up at the local DSA meeting, and they told me to stop, and I asked why, and they're like,
So forget about it, cuz.
okay, well, I won't go there. But how was your weekend? How are you doing this fine Monday? No matter when this comes out, we record on Mondays generally, so
one of the worst
to all
days
those people that are
is,
listening on Wednesday, I don't care.
You're ugly. You are disgusting. I'm going to kill you.
I hope
Nice.
you get ass cancer and die, you son of a bitch.
Which is what I meant to press. But anyway.
Well, this Monday is a fine day, but I would like to say...
Fine.
Hey, that kind of rhymes. Last week, I went to Las Vegas to a show with a couple of my friends and our sister. And, oh, man, anybody who ever gets a chance to see Khruangbin, probably some of these
spell
folks
that for us.
It's Khruangbin.
I saw you look down. You're looking at it.
Because I actually wrote it down. Because
really?
I do know how to. I wanted to remember to say that I went to that show because it was so fucking good.
Is it awesome?
Yeah, they're super chill. If you don't listen to them already, you should definitely check them out. It's just a guitar, bass, and drums. And the bassist, her name's Laura Lee. She's seriously my motherfucking hero. I always knew she was so cool. She's so cool with her cool outfits, and I love their music. And then seeing them live, she was like, oh my God, they were so fun.
Awesome.
Just like
they
really
sounded
fun.
Good.
They sounded so good, and just like really kind of like simple choreography between her and just like really super simple, her and the guitar player, but it just like really moving together. It seemed like they had a lot of fun.
It's more in line with the music.
It's super chill. And then Hermanos
you don't have to have
Gutierrez,
Taylor Swift up there banging
on
a
a
baton
stick.
against a mic stand, offbeat.
Polyrhythmics, whatever it is. But Hermanos Gutierrez, this is why I wanted to go to this show. These two groups are some of my favorite that I listen to all the time. Hermanos Gutierrez, it's two brothers. as you can guess, probably, that play guitar.
What's
Check
their last name?
It's
Sanchez.
Williamson. Yeah. No. Their
Rick
Tiny
Steen.
Desk concert is so good, and I've been
Okay.
I listen to them all the time, and I got
evangelize
to
for
see them. They're so sexy for one thing, but they're
really?
they're instrumental, music, and me and my friend got to see them like spinning at a on Tuesday night. We went out to a bar and they were there, and we were like 5 feet away. They were spinning DJing, and Leon Bridges showed up and was standing back there with them. Yeah, it was like it was really cool, and they were so close. One of them even made eye contact with me, and my friend totally saw it. She brought it up. She validated me that he was staring at me. We smiled and stood there for a second. I'm like
That's
taller
fun.
than people, and I had these cool glasses and whatever. It
You
definitely.
had your star glasses?
I had mushroom glasses actually.
Mushroom glasses, cool.
Yeah, you definitely check them out. They're
I
so
need some
super
glasses of
chill
mushrooms.
and like. Yeah, like I like to put them on and play my saxophone over them, but both of them together, they were first, of course. People were like, I've never heard of this group, and I'm like, ooh, you're in for a treat. And so then Khruangbin was amazing and just like a super cool, fun vibe. I would recommend both of those to anyone. Hermanos Gutierrez actually going to be at the Thing Festival Incarnation over here, kind of near my neck of the woods, in this summer, and so is Tim Heidecker's band.
Oh yeah,
I know.
yeah, that's right.
It's like a huge,
shoot,
really,
yeah,
it's a
like a
stacked
3-day
lineup.
festival though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Damn, I'd like to go to some of that. But I mean, I think an underlying core principle of this podcast, if you don't know already as a listener, is that if you aren't on board or don't like the same kind of music that we do,
Death penalty. It's immediate death penalty.
so that's
Straight
something
to
to keep
jail.
in mind.
Yeah.
But don't worry, we do like lots of different kinds of music, and
It's because you're an honorless, lying little turd.
no, that's not why.
we
It's because I
do.
want to seem cool.
Yeah.
I'm not like other girls. I like metal and jazz.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't like
Just
Taylor Swift's music.
I'm not like other girls. I'm just like other losers. No.
I have a lot of online friends that love Taylor too. I mean, whatever. But I'm too much of a snob. Sorry. Like
I'm too much
I
of a
don't-
leftist.
It kind of I
soulless
do
corporate-
not care about people's
I care about it
and
because
music.
it makes her music so unbelievably empty. That's what her whole thing is.
Sure.
She's so empty. She has nothing.
It's
She's just like
that's just
pop
because of
music.
the existence of capitalism. and
No,
stuff.
it's
And
because
like,
she has nothing to say. Because she made a video about coming out as pro-choice as like this huge thing for her to do. She's so lacking in any sort of like belief in
it's like,
anything.
hey,
So
you're
how does that make you an
a
artist?
35-year-old woman? Like that should just be a normal shouldn't be a big deal.
not at
but
all. She's
I mean,
so lame.
but the thing is, on my
Sorry
end,
to all
I
those
mean,
people that love her.
I don't care about politics and music because half the music I listen to doesn't even
It's
have
all
lyrics, and the other
politics.
half I don't know what the lyrics are, so I don't give a shit. But it's like, I mean, I'll listen to Slayer. I don't even want to know what they talk about, but I like the music. Dang it! I was just gonna try to use a nude drop. I got a couple of new ones in here, but I already used them. Well, let's see.
Psychotic, deranged,
But I had a good
cultist liars.
I guess
Yeah, so you
that was
had
last
you had
week.
an awesome time. That's right,
That was last week. Yeah.
a great week, despite everything. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I know you left as soon as Dad was in the hospital. You're like, I
I
gotta
was
get out
waiting
of
for
here.
it,
Do
yeah.
not talk to me. I'm going to a goddamn concert. So we can get to the real news here. From CNA, woman arrested for wheeling corpse into Brazil bank to sign for loan. Brazilian police have arrested a woman who tried to take out a bank loan for a man she was pushing in a wheelchair who turned out to be dead. And I was like, I mean,
That's so
Weekend at
funny.
Bernie's in real life. They called emergency services on Tuesday. April 16th after becoming suspicious when Erica Vieira Nunez, I don't know, they don't have a
Nunez? Yeah.
over it, but wheeled the 68-year-old man into the bank and requested a loan in his name. How fucking bold, though. Like, it's like, God, that's crazy. That's dark and funny. But it's like, gee,
That's
you
really
thought it was just going to work or what? Like, are you stupid or bold or both or like a little like disconnected here? Because that does not seem like, I mean, even if
Like
you were in
it's
like a
gonna
third
work.
world country,
Yeah.
which Brazil is not, as far as I know. They're not as bad off as some other places, but where it's like there's just no guidelines in place, or something. It's like, man, I just had to today do work at the bank for the nonprofit that I'm on the board of and stuff like that, and it's like, which is always just what I say because I don't want people fucking with any of this stuff. Shout out to Wendy. but yeah, it was just like, man, all of the exact things that you have to do any banking stuff because of people that have like swindled and dodged taxes and cheated and stuff with nonprofits. It's funny. Oh, yeah. So anyway, footage shows her holding a pen and moving his hand forward to no response. At one point in the video, the man's head falls back when she stops holding it up. "Uncle, are you listening? You need to sign," she says in the security video, suggesting the sign for him. He doesn't say anything. That's just how he is, she continues, adding, if you're not okay, I'm going to take you to the hospital. Like, talking to him and like really trying to pull this thing off. When emergency workers arrived, they determined the man was dead. His corpse was then taken to a morgue. She claimed to be the man's niece and sought to take out a loan of about $3,200 US, 17,000 reais. I don't know. These Portuguese fools. No, but
Speak
they
English.
arrested
It's
her
Brazil.
for attempted theft by fraud and defiling a cadaver. Oh, that's the one. Yeah,
tough crowd. Yeah.
we were just watching Bob's Burgers yesterday when Linda ends up getting a ticket for public defecation, and I thought it was so funny. Even Sergeant Bosco or whatever, he's like, what? Oh, he's like, that's like the worst thing you can do. She's like, well, what about murderers and stuff? He's like, murderers, you can at least understand, but public pooping, my God.
Public pooping.
Yeah, we got a public pooper on our hands. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. My week was okay, in case anyone asked or is wondering. Things are getting better, I guess. I don't know. All sorts of stuff going on. But, today I got some stuff done. I also replaced a doorknob, which needed to be done.
Checked it off the list, huh?
Yeah, fixed some little drip irrigation stuff that I've got. Mowed a lawn before the weather's been gross. It's been pissing me off. Like,
pissing me right off.
I got off of work on Saturday late because someone's like, no, I'll be there in 5 minutes, I swear. I'm like, well, we close in like 6 minutes, and they got there 1 minute after closing, and I could not say no, and I opened up and rented them a unit and did all this stuff, and I was like, you're lucky. I got other things to do here. And,
what would be nice?
Rushed back to mow the lawn in the wind, and it was gray, and dust was blowing around, and I was getting grass in my mouth. And it was kind of cold compared to what it had been. And it's just been windy. And it rained last night, so then I had to mow a half-wet lawn today because it has to be done today. Yeah. And, I was just like, man, but got some stuff done, Got a couple of things done. At least I can say that I did that doorknob.
I've always, that letting someone in, even though you don't want to, it's like the end of your day and all that kind of stuff. I have always like been envious of like DMV workers or whatever, where they have the power of it's like, well, no. Like if they tell you no, there's nothing you can do. It's too
I've done
late.
it before.
It's like, I mean, you can, but as it like businesses, it's just a little bit different, you know. But as far as like the power that comes with some of these positions at like the DOL or whatever, man, it would just feel good to have be like, no, I can't do things differently. And you can really just be firm. It's like there are very specific rules, and I'm not going to bend them to you. There is no wheedling you can do. It's just like, no.
It's like, why? Who are you? Who are you? Are you the governor? No.
Yeah.
Well, then
like,
you
don't care.
I can't bend any rules for you. Are you my boss? No. And I mean, I've done it before, especially when it's someone who's like showing up. Well, can't you just stay open for a little bit? Can't you just hang out? You know, where I'm just like, no. Why would you think that? And I always tell people, and half the time it's somewhat true, but it's like, no, I have another job to go to. I have to go to my second job, and usually that shuts people up.
Yeah.
But, which is what,
parenting?
It only happens when I have something to do. Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, I have to pick up my kid from the babysitter, which, is halfway true sometimes too. But it's like, I shouldn't have to give you a reason. I'm a human being with a life, and it's not set up to be serving you personally.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly.
And if you would have called me maybe earlier in the day, I could have adjusted and been like, okay, I really get it. Because I do get it. I have been that person that's like calling. I'm like, I swear I'll be right there. I'm going as fast as I can. I know. I'm just like, I'm so sorry. And like when people are like that, it's so easy to be like, fine, I totally get it. When people are like, oh, please, you know, because they're really understanding like how incredibly inconvenient they're making it for you. It's like, I totally get it. I'm such a piece of shit. I'm so sorry.
Don't understand that. They just don't think about it. They just don't think about it being inconvenient for you. They're like, showing up 1 minute before close and be like, well, you're open, right? Let me do this. It's like, this is going to take 20 minutes, dude.
Yeah, I guess.
It's like, I told you. I mean, at my job, it's like, it happens all the time where it's like, I told you when we closed. And then you show up 5 minutes afterwards and you're banging on the door or something. Do you not understand what time is?
You know what closed means?
It's like, no. It's like, bye. Anyway,
bye,
but yeah,
bitch.
it was just windy and gross, and it's gonna rain more and stuff. I'm like, oh man, I was getting so used to it being so nice, and once I start wearing shorts, I refuse to go back until it's not short season anymore. So sorry if it's 49 degrees in the morning when I get to work. I'll just have a jacket on. I don't want my legs. Who cares?
A jacket on your legs?
Yeah, I don't need a leg jacket. I'll just have another layer up top. It'll keep me a little warmer. But
it's true though.
So I don't know what we want to talk about. We were talking before the show about Kristi Noem shooting a puppy in the face.
Crazy.
I think we're all against that. We were talking before the show, just screaming about how insane it is that Israel keeps doing what it's doing, and protests are still being shut down, and people are now getting arrested and suspended on college campuses.
People can't call for a ceasefire. That's too crazy for kids to say stop killing people. It's too wild and too extreme of a position to say you need to ceasefire. That's so extreme. The only thing you can
Jill
do.
Stein was violently arrested at a campus protest. And charged with assault because she didn't like to be arrested. You know, it's so fun. Resisting arrest is like such a bullshit thing.
It's an American
it's so
thing.
Bullshit. Yeah, it's like I mean, and no matter what, like getting handcuffs put on you, it hurts. It sucks. Even if they're being as nice as they can be, getting your arms put behind you the way that they do and putting handcuffs on you is painful no matter what. I mean, it's not the most painful thing that can happen by any means, but it's like a human being with response to external stimuli will resist what you do to them.
Look, we're pretty well
so
known for our free
ridiculous.
will, I would say. Also, we don't really like that infringed upon too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, being like kidnapped pretty much isn't something you like to go through. But let's see. But yeah, just I don't know, the current meta, as a Twitch streamer would say or something. But
We would not
what's
say
going
that.
on right now with campus protests and stuff, it's really, I don't know.
Disgusting.
Yeah, but I mean, it's even more, it's more important, more, whatever word it would be, if I could remember words at the end of the day when we podcast together, then how we're discussing it and in the media and stuff. It's just, it feels like so many are just letting it wash by like it's just another just news story about pro-Palestinian people versus, Israel and the United States' current response and the Biden administration and stuff. It's like, no, this is kind of monumental in this timeline. Like what's happening right now is a big deal, and it's going to be a big deal when we look back on it. I mean, it's during a presidential election year, and campuses are being shut down, classes are being stopped. People are getting arrested every day at campus protests, and now. Is it Columbia, which was the one that was today, are starting to suspend students for being in pro-Palestine campus protests, which are not just pro-Palestine.
I want to say there may be a lot of them like wanting a ceasefire and like wanting the United States to not use our tax money to like blow up children.
Yeah.
That's like, doesn't seem like that's like anti-war kind of sentiment, not just like.
And some of these, some of these universities, they have legitimate grievances against their universities that they're attending in terms of the need to divest from dealings with the state of Israel. Like, what did I say before the show? I don't know. I just spew so much misinformation because everything's off the top of my head. But is it Columbia? Yeah, that, is talking about, or not talking about, but has plans of opening a sister campus, like a satellite branch in Israel, and that's a legitimate thing that you need to listen to these fucking students and people that are paying you so much fucking money. And they don't want their money to go to Israel. It's not anti-Semitic. It's like they don't want you to spend their money that way supporting an ethnic cleansing and bombing campaign,
Ethnic cleansing. It's so disgusting to hear. I hate that.
Yeah. It's just straight up true. It's like but either way, so this groundswell of like real, actual activism on college campuses, which is where during so many pivotal moments, is where these things can begin, because, and it's so funny, these Zionists supporting pigs and stuff, and just
freaks,
mouth-breathing freaks that talk about, it's just, these kids, they don't know anything about the real world. They just want their activism to look cool, or they don't know anything of what they're actually protesting for, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, why these things happen at college campuses? It's because there's thousands of young adults all in one place just to learn about the world. They're not working a 9 to 5, being worn down to the bone. They're talking to each other. They're learning the news. They're learning the workings of politics and the history of political art and everything that's going on. Of course, that's where it starts. These people are at the forefront of bringing information about, just goings on in the world, like, and how it affects us as human beings here in America or something. They bring that to the forefront. They're the ones that have the time or are required to take the time
literally the
to
point.
discuss these things, to learn about these things, to broaden their views and all this stuff. It's like, of course, this is where it happens. Why do you think it's like, it's not that colleges turn kids into liberals or socialists and stuff like that, but all these communist movements start there because it becomes so obvious and apparent the more you learn about the world, how fucked up the world is and what needs to change. It's so simple.
And you get a bunch of people like from all over the place too. Like you can have a college class from kids all over the United States or the world sometimes,
Yes. Yeah. And diversity of experiences and all of these come together. It's like, that's what, like, not just education, but like progress of...
It's not about degrees, it's about learning.
Intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just our knowledge base, that's where it happens, I mean, for the most part, that's where it's concentrated to.
It's where it's like, literally, that's what your whole purpose there is to do, is to learn. So
and it's like,
you would hope that people would be coming with something new in their heads, not just like going into college and coming out the exact same fucking way, because
it's not Harvard Business School.
I mean, yeah, where you become dumber. Yeah, it's like where you're actually having ideas like challenged, or you're learning something new. There is something that you don't know before you go to college, and if you think that you didn't learn anything, you're a fucking egotistical narcissist, and you're also stupid, because it's not possible to not learn anything. Yeah, that's just
you're
not
lying.
True. Either you didn't learn because you're stupid.
You're purposefully ignorant, or or you refuse to apply what you did learn, like, and actually acknowledge the the
emphasis
cognitive
on
dissonances.
Right.
That knowledge with like Kathy from the cartoon. Yeah. You hear stuff like this, and number one, with all this blathering on this podcast, I think what most people come away from it with the thought of,
they should definitely not be with guns telling people what to do.
I agree.
I can't figure out how to fit this in, but the cops at the protests,
they should definitely not be with guns telling people what to do. These guys.
I mean, it's crazy. The amount of effort that is going in, the amount of resources and effort and money and manpower that is going into making sure that the free speech of these college students is being stifled is mind-blowing. The fact that, I mean, I don't know if you saw any of Hassan streamed at what must have been at the USC protests, and they have, they took over the lawn there, and he was there with LOL Overruled. That guy is fantastic. Lolo. He's been on the stream before and stuff. And like, even then, just in a stream, you could just pick out, everyone could see him. This guy kind of hanging around in the background, like, that's a cop. It's a cop. It's like
Hello,
there's
fellow
cops there,
protesters.
like with
Yeah.
exactly. His hair's shaved a little too short and a little too neat, and he's just kind of hanging out with their cop demeanor and stuff. It's just like, and on top of that, then you have uniformed cops and people with like fucking assault rifles at these campuses, and and then once they start rounding them up because the protesters said no, and we told them to stop protesting. Well, you said no, we warned you, so now we start arresting all of you en masse, including Dr. Jill Stein getting arrested.
I think I'm pretty dumb in this way, because is it illegal? Like, to do that? Like, I guess if you're blocking traffic and there's some things that's why they make arrests and stuff like that, because you're getting in the way or being a public nuisance. But if you're on a college campus, is a protest like illegal? What are you getting arrested for? I guess I don't really get it.
because I mean, you're there on the campus. It's up to the college to determine, like, if you're crossing lines that they don't want you to cross, then you can be trespassing, just like anything else, and they could say,
but you go to school there.
Yeah, but you don't live on the lawn. It's still their property.
You literally
right?
can pay $50,000 a year and have you can just be kicked off whenever you want. Be like, cool.
It's real free speech. It's
I was exposed as doing a giant fraud.
That's what it is. Well, and like I told you, at Northeastern, who knows? I'm just gonna start making up colleges.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, just listening to Amy Goodwin this morning, they, when a line is crossed, then they could say, "All right, shut the protest down, leave or be arrested." And they decided that line was crossed because there was actual anti-Semitic chanting going on, calling death to Jews. Stuff like that. Please do not cut me out of context and put it on the soundboard. It's like, well, that's all I have to say.
And scene.
Okay. No, but someone chanting that. So then, of course, they refuse to leave the encampment, and mass arrests follow. 80 kids get arrested. And then, Of course, the person who was chanting, that was starting the chant, it's all on video, everyone knows it, was a pro-Israel agitator with a Israeli flag and everything, starting an anti-Semitic chant. Just like these Zionists who have been exposed over the past
as doing
decade
a terrible fraud,
of like spray painting swastikas on their own fucking synagogues or homes and stuff like that, and writing death to Jews or writing into like bad Arabic stuff like that, so that they can push a victim narrative that they do not have. It's like anti-Semitism is real, like it is horrifying, and it has been an undercurrent.
Just kidding.
Yeah, there's been an undercurrent of like right-wing nationalism and conspiracy theory brain rot forever, and you do yourself no favors when you have to create it out of thin air because you disagree with people that are pro-Palestine or whatever it may be. That's generally what it is. I mean, I'm trying not to open Twitter lately, but it's like the leader of the leader, I forget it. Gosh, I should remember his name off the top of my head, but the guy in charge of the ADL. No, the ADL.
Netanyahu?
Where it's like, the ADL serves an important purpose and always has, but this particular, like, colonial atrocity that's happening right now has just scrambled so many brains that he was saying, I forget which particular chant that was saying, a pro-Palestine chant. Oh, no. just calling what Israel is doing right now, calling it a genocide, is blood libel. And I'm like, not only is it just false, that's bad enough, where it's like, no, it's not. It's not blood libel, but also you should know better as a leader of the Anti-Defamation League that downplaying and diluting the definition of blood libel is like anti-Semitic practically. It's such a bad idea in terms of, helping protect Jewish people around the world and in America. It's so ass backwards of a bad idea that it makes you wonder why you would even say something like that or push a narrative like that. And
because you're really, I don't know. It's like people really
Mariners just won. Okay,
drink the Kool-Aid. I mean, it's like they really. I mean, I guess it's just really hard for me to believe that people can be on the side of Netanyahu in this. It's just really, really hard to believe that people are really just believing this stuff. I mean, people get swept up in things and whatever.
Well,
it just feels very strange.
It's not, for a lot of people, and it's not about being swept up in it. I mean, it's true indoctrination in terms of American Judaism. I wish we could have someone on the show or something like that, that can explain it. But I've heard on other shows, you talk to, now pro-Palestinian voices in the Jewish community that are like, it's really, you have to go out of your way to learn anything other than the Zionist viewpoint. Even if you don't live in Israel, I mean, people go on Birthright, and it's just pure pro-Israeli propaganda that you're given. I mean, look at the the worst podcast in the world, Cumtown, my favorite. Adam Friedland went on ITV as an anti-IDF pro-Palestinian voice years ago. I mean, it was like a joke then, because it's like, oh my God, how cringe. And he was out there, but he was, you have to like go out of your way and like be on the left and be in the DSA practically as a starting point to even get away from that. It's the same type of, indoctrination and propaganda as you get in like, for pro-war in American schools.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like that. And there's a partnership there between the United States and Israel. It has nothing to do with Judaism. It's
of course.
It's about that, it's just a way for that settler colony, that hasn't even been around for 100 years to to keep people on their side, to be able to brush away what would be like real ringing alarm bells in your mind about what your country is doing. That's the best way for any nation state to hold power. I mean, propaganda, it's not just like lies. Propaganda is not just lies. I mean, Hassan Piker has really good explanations of these. We love Hassan. I don't care if people listen to the show and they don't like Hassan, but like about propaganda. I loved when he was trying to get that point across to Piers Morgan the first time that he went on after October 7th, where he's like, yeah, that's what I do too. And like, you would admit that you're a propagandist? He's like, yeah, because I know what it actually is, what propaganda is. Like, you have an agenda, that's what it is. You're using information to push an agenda, and it can be through omission of certain facts, embellishment, and lies too. But, I mean, it's that soft power through just informing your citizens and your supporters in the way you want them to be informed that keeps your
Alternative
support.
facts.
Yeah, or just regular fact, whatever it might be, like that keeps people supporting you to the point where if push comes to shove and you need it, you can keep them blindly supporting you. You know, that's when things really start going towards the cliff. You need
It's like
those
Taylor Swift fans. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
got a lot of good
say
propaganda.
It's like cult followings, but you know,
Yeah,
either way,
that's
hey, you go
what I
on Twitter.
said. Yeah.
This isn't against the normal Taylor Swift fans that I know, but actual Swifties on Twitter, it is psychotic. They are just
it's one thing to like her music.
deranged cultists, liars. Even though I hear it, I'm like,
this is the worst music I've ever heard. Honestly, this is like truly offensive.
No, I've heard worse music, but
Of course, yeah.
But
You know what? I've heard better
anyway,
music too.
I was trying to go in without talking about Israel, but
Yeah, right.
instead it's about it's not Israel, the campus protests, anti-war movements beginning on campuses. How can you look at this now when we all know the parallels to the Vietnam anti-war protests? The fact that those were filled with leftists and 4 were dead in Ohio because of this, and it's like, and people are getting arrested. People were talking about calling the National Guard, which they did in Texas. At what was that? In Austin, UTA, I think. University of Texas, Illinois, the UTI,
just really
which I had to go see a
talking about,
doctor about.
Where it's like, in like the Kent State shootings, Humby and I were talking about that the other day, and it's really crazy, like, to imagine what we didn't learn. Obviously, of course, it's so disgusting to see us just like repeat these things, because it really is like, man, like a bunch of kids were just killed. Like, it's like, imagine being their parents. Imagine your kid's off at college and then there's this phone call you get or whatever. And it's like, oh, yeah, your kid was like having a moral, like a conscience, and was saying this war that's so horrible going on.
Taking a stand.
Being
and more brave than
on the
90%
moral
of
high
us.
ground. And they're dead now.
Yeah.
So, like,
And
just what it means
they're
for things
dead,
to get out of
and
control.
people are going to be on Fox News and CNN and all over the place on TV talking about how it was their fault.
Yeah.
About how they were wrong and they died needlessly
And they were
stuff.
Nowadays it'd be like they're anti-Semitic and they probably deserved it.
You talk about man, I had a real back and forth with some idiot fucking blue check moron a while back, where he was getting so mad about freeways being shut down as in protest, and it really bothers people. And even all these liberals, it's like the number one easiest way to see how liberalism, what's the quote? It's liberalism is anti-war except for the current war. They support protests except the current one isn't being done right. That's how they are.
Because, the one here in SeaTac at the airport?
Yes.
I can imagine how fucking pissed I would be that it was closed down for 3 hours trying to get the expressway into the airport. The only way you can get there, you're trying to catch a flight and stuff. I am 100% behind those supporters. I don't think they did anything wrong. I think that's amazing. But I can also imagine how fucking pissed I would be that it's like, shit, I gotta catch a flight. Like, I'm not gonna make it. Like, I'm now in like this huge inconvenient place. Luckily, I'm not a huge bitch and would be like, but it could be a lot worse. And, I could be like living, as a Palestinian and trapped in an open air prison. Yeah.
You're also not the type of person that will say, no, you should be able to run them over. Which is what, yes, which is what a lot of people say. They are restricting my movement.
What the fuck?
They are kidnapping me because they are restricting my movement. I should be able to respond with force.
Construction workers, I should just be able to shoot them in the head.
Exactly. This guy was getting ratioed beyond all comprehension. But
someone,
and even
a crosswalk guard in a school zone.
He responded to me. Until I asked, I'm like, so this is about restriction of movement. So you're really just upset and you believe this way about freeways where you cannot turn around, right? Because a lot of these, I see it on highways or places where, you know what? You can turn around. I even saw ones at SeaTac where it's like, well, people just got out of their cars and started walking. It's like, you're not truly restricted. You can just fucking walk. Sorry. And it's
true.
like, and there's a difference between you would be upset because it's personally affecting you and you making your political decision on this based on it inconveniencing you, where people are like, well, now if they didn't care about it before, now they hate the Palestinian protesters. It's like, well, then you're a piece of shit.
Then
Like,
you don't.
That's
then you're not
how
even talking
you
about
determine,
the issue.
Yeah,
you're not
that's
talking about
how
the
you
issue
determine
at all.
your stance on the issue is that some people upset you.
That just reminds
No.
me of that Louis C.K. But I have to go. It's my favorite way. I want to go this way.
Yeah, you're
like
just
I
like
can't
the
just
person
go
who
up one block
screams
and turn.
across
Yeah,
2 lanes of traffic because you're gonna miss your left turn. So, shout out to Southpaw Exceptionalism Mutual on Twitter, who shares a lot of great stuff. But there was even this from The Root from 8 years ago, titled MLK Would Never Shut Down a Freeway, and 6 Other Myths About the Civil Rights Movement and Black Lives Matter. So, I mean, people were talking about running over protesters during BLM, too. People that were blocking freeways. So let's see. This one in 2016, as protests mounted across the country following the police killings of Alton Sterling and Philando Castile. Man, that was 8 years ago. Isn't that funny?
that's hilarious.
Atlanta Mayor Kasim Reed explained the large police presence at downtown protests to reporters, quote, Dr. King would never take a freeway. Reed's claim was historically absurd. Martin Luther King Jr. took many a highway, most famously perhaps in the Selma to Montgomery March.
That's like some of the most famous pictures coming out about all of that. And,
Reed is not the only one trafficking in dangerous and distorted ideas of the civil rights movement, because you'll still hear that now, too. And people are equate this to civil rights things. They're like, well, they didn't do it like this. It's like, you know what? They did. And because of people like you, back then, MLK was hated. And you're going to look back at him now and be like, well, of course, he was one of the most important ones. Of course I love MLK. Well, you wouldn't have. Yeah, like a 35% approval rating or something like that in terms of public opinion polls.
He was so well loved.
He was fucking
he was
murdered.
Shot and killed.
Yeah. and the country erupted in violent protests after he was. And people blamed him for that.
Died.
And said that the protesters were wrong. But yeah, let's see.
This whole
From
thing
former
is like
Republican presidential candidate Mike Huckabee, who said that King would be appalled by BLM, to Oprah Winfrey, who told young activists to, quote, take note of the strategic, peaceful intention if you want real change. Or love and unity, or the dumb bitch that I was talking about before we were recording, that lady showing up to the campus protest who ended up crying because she even said, I thought I'd be able to come and talk to you and we would end this with a hug. Fuck you, liberal. Oh my God. End this with a hug? They're protesting a genocide. But the framing... Oh, go ahead.
All of this, it just seems, it's like this stupid bitch is talking about freeways and whatever. It's like, you're just getting mad at the wrong thing. You're just getting mad at the wrong people. We could be unified on this because I know you don't want people to die. If it's, put before you, what is more important, being late to something or saving a child's life, saving a child from being blown up? I know 100% of the people I interact with on a day-to-day basis, of course, well, maybe not 100% because there are some people that are just whatever, just going to say that.
There are libertarians.
There are some fucking contrarians that just want to say shit to say shit, but... most people, given the choice, if it really was in front of them, if you could shoot a kid in the head or just be a couple hours late to work and have your boss be sort of annoyed at you, I think the choice is probably pretty fucking easy, Like, that's what the people you should be mad at when there are protests going on.
Would you rather shoot a kid in the head or lose your job? It's still an easy choice.
Of course. Yeah. like miss a flight. Yeah, who cares? But it's like the thing that we're mad at is not these protesters. The thing that you should be mad at is that people have to protest. That people have to be out here begging and screaming and getting arrested and begging and just like wailing and just please, 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 please help, stop doing this. Please stop. Please.
You know,
like at the top of their lungs, screaming and doing that.
Biden doing what the protesters want.
Exactly. It's who you should be mad at is the motherfucking people in charge that are making this possible. The things that we have to scream about. It's like they have the power. What we have the power to do is make things inconvenient. And you know what? Get ourselves arrested doing it. Probably some people like kind of not exactly ruining their lives, but having a big impact on them. You know, it's
the U.S. justice system is not kind.
It's just a huge bummer that it's. Because it's like, we got to protest in the right way. It's like, no, you have to do some critical thinking to understand what the real fucking problem is. It's not the protesters. It's the thing that they're protesting. That's why they're out here. You know?
It's like, if you're on their side in spirit, then you have to be on board with what you're saying here. You know? It's like, well, do you agree with what they're protesting? And so many people, liberals, will say, well, yeah, but they're not doing it in the right way or whatever. So if you're on their side, then like you have to know that they're not the problem, that what they're protesting is the problem. But this article is great. I probably retweeted it, but I'll send it to you too. We'll go over it real quick just before we finish. But myth number 1, the civil rights movement wasn't disruptive. Of course, let's see. But the Birmingham, Alabama campaign that King and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference waged in 1963 was a campaign of mass civil disobedience designed to overflow the jails and cripple downtown businesses and city function. Key to the work of many civil rights organizations from SCLC to the Congress of Racial Equality and the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, pretty important in the civil rights movement of the 1960s, was mass civil disobedience because they understood that injustice would not be changed without disrupting civil and commercial life. Myth number 2, the movement's righteousness was apparent. The civil rights movement made most Americans uncomfortable. From presidents to ordinary citizens, many regarded it as extremism. People regularly called MLK and Rosa Parks communists and traitors, not just in the South, but also in the, quote, liberal North, for their critiques of police brutality and their support of housing and school desegregation. Although our public imagination focuses on Southern redneck racism, both Parks and King came to see a white moderate as key to the problem. As he wrote from the Birmingham, we've all heard the stumbling block and stride toward freedom is the white moderate. I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action. Like, this is 60 years ago.
Exactly, where he says the white moderate is dangerous because they're willing to accept a false peace, which is the absence of tension, rather than a true peace, which is the presence of justice.
Yep.
So because, there's no protest, so everything must be, that's what I wanted. Hey, now everything's like all good to go, because I don't have to be annoyed.
Yeah, as they say in, public policy and political classes, they call it hunky-dory, I think is what it is. But,
everything's hunky-dory.
Instead, they say... Oh, man, that's slow.
I love Karl Marx.
But myth number 3, quote, respectable activists like Rosa Parks were publicly appreciated. Parks spent many decades grappling with how hard it was to be a troublemaker and with the stigmatization and punishment of black people who dissented endured. Okay. She noted how those who challenged the racial order as she did were labeled radicals, soreheads, agitators, and troublemakers.
Soreheads?
Politically active for 2 decades before her bus stand and for 4 decades afterwards, Parks despaired for years before the boycott that no mass movement was emerging. Myth number 4, most well-meaning Americans supported the civil rights movement. No, We already know that that's, yeah. The majority of the American public did not support the civil rights movement while it was happening. In May 1961, in a Gallup survey, only 22% of Americans approved of what the Freedom Riders were doing. And 57% of Americans said that the sit-ins at lunch counters, freedom buses, and other demonstrations by Negroes were hurting their chances of being integrated in the South. Just like that, where it's like, well, the way that you're doing it, you're just hurting your cause. You see that so much right now, especially with highway blocking.
And by sitting in, too. What a fucking... Yeah. It's like by sitting there at a counter, you're hurting your cause.
Civil disobedience. Let's see. Lest we see this as Southerners skewing the national sample, in 1964... a year before the passing of the Voting Rights Act, in a poll conducted by the New York Times, a majority of white people in New York City said the civil rights movement had gone too far. Quote, while denying any deep-seated prejudice, a large number of those questioned used the same terms to express their feelings. They spoke of Negroes receiving everything on a silver platter and of reverse discrimination against whites, unquote. Nearly half said that picketing and demonstrations hurt black people's cause. In 1966, a year after Selma and the passage of the Voting Rights Act, 85% of white people and 30% of black people nationally believed that demonstrations by black people on civil rights hurt the advancement of civil rights. Myth number 5, the federal government was a key supporter. I don't know who believes that myth. Myth number 6, the movement focused on the South. Forced to leave Montgomery for Detroit in 1957, Rosa Parks found Detroit the northern promised land that wasn't. See, and it's like because of liberalism. Because of at least modern American liberalism. The moderate liberalism, you know, not even classical liberalism that would, you know, if you see black people or now Palestinian people as full-fledged human beings like you or I, you know, would still be better on this than like the white moderate liberalism and neoliberalism that we see today. It's like, let's see... She repeatedly lamented how black movements challenging school and housing segregation, urban renewal, economic injustice, and police brutality were opposed in the 1950s and 60s, and this resistance to change long beforehand laid the groundwork for the uprisings of the mid-1960s. Following the Watts uprising, which, man, like I was saying the other day, I want to listen to Nixon Land again. Yeah. Oh, man. But King took to the pages of the Saturday Review to criticize the surprise evinced by California officials given the long-standing movements in their own backyards. In my travels to the North, King said, he had grown increasingly disillusioned with the power structures there, who showered praise on the heroism of Southern Negroes. Yet when the issues were joined concerning local conditions, only the language was polite. The rejection was firm and unequivocal. So let's be clear. It's wrapping up here, or at least of this part. Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks and their many comrades were persevering, courageous, and disruptive, and they made America uncomfortable, just like many people engaging in BLM movements across the country today. Remember, this is 2016. But we have stripped them of this history by turning civil rights heroes like King and Parks into Thanksgiving Day parade balloons, happy, larger than life, and stripped of their substance. We make them
full of hot air.
We make them unavailable for where we are now, as the late Vincent Harding put it, so we can keep ourselves comfortably distant from the realities they were trying to grapple with. But King certainly did take a freeway. What are we doing? And it's just it's so funny how prescient all that stuff is and how people still just don't get it. I mean, it's understandable too because of propaganda, you know? That's how it works. What? because
mental illness is when you're right wing.
This is propaganda.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, also that.
So thoughtful. So thoughtful.
But anyway, we'll wrap it up. If you're able to, of course, support some bail funds, support a local protest. Shout out to R.M. Brown.
Lord and Savior.
Shout out to Mia. You were just saying yesterday, I want to join
Shout out
a
to me.
local protest. Shout out to Discontent Provider for the great tweets lately. Oh, I was going to, I'll read some on the next one. It's fun.
Nice.
And
you're still trying to impress others by who you know. You're still skating for others, and you're not doing it for the Lord.
That's what you have to remember, everyone. So, anyway,
Bitches leave.
I love you.
Love you too. Okay, I love all of you guys. Every single person listening, I love you so much.
Same.
Okay.
Same.
Especially you. Okay.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Okay, love you. Bye.